Okay, so hey crew. So we're going to start off with like a 5-minute imagery practice. So this is not mindfulness. Mindfulness does not equal imagery. However, we're going to be talking about the improved skills today, and this visualizing stuff with imagery is one of the ways we do improve. So I thought this was a way we could do a double whammy. So I'm going to ring the bell 3 times, and I want you to get in a comfortable seated position. You can have your eyes open or closed, it's totally up to you. And I'm going to read you this guided imagery script. Okay. For a few minutes, allow yourself to take several nice, long, deep breaths. Notice the cool air coming in, filling your lungs, and the soothing, warm air going out. Just let all your thoughts float away as you bring your attention to your breathing, in and out. You might mentally scan your body and notice if you're holding any tension in your muscles. If you are, just gently let all that tension melt away with every out breath. Bring your attention to your breathing in and out. Let yourself feel more and more comfortable sitting where you are. In your mind's eye, you see yourself descending down a long, narrow, wooden stairway towards a beautiful, inviting beach. Your bare feet feel the rough, weathered steps, and with each step, you feel more and more tension gently melting away from your body. As you continue down the stairway, you notice how the bright white sand stretches down the shoreline as far as you can see. The ocean is a deep shade of blue with the fine white crests of the waves sweeping towards the shore. You reach the end of the stairway and step down, sinking into the warm, soothing sand. As you rub the sand lightly between your toes, a soothing sensation of relaxation gently melts through your entire body. The roaring sounds of the sea's surf, the waves crashing over each other, calms your mind and allows you to feel even more relaxed. You begin walking slowly towards the edge of the water and notice the warm sun on your face and shoulders. The salty smell of the sea air invigorates you, and you take in a deep breath. Breathe slowly out and feel more relaxed and refreshed. Finally, you reach the water's edge and you gladly invite the waves to flow over your toes and ankles. You watch the waves glide smoothly towards you, gently sweeping around your feet, and the trails of seawater that flow slowly back out again. The cool water feels soft and comforting as you enjoy a few moments, allowing yourself to gaze out on the far-reaching horizon. Overhead, you notice 2 seagulls gracefully soaring high above the ocean, and you hear their soft cries becoming faint as they glide away. All of these sights, sounds, and sensations allow you to let go and relax more. After a moment, you begin strolling down the beach at the water's edge. You feel a cool, gentle breeze pressing lightly against your back, and with every step, you feel yourself relaxing more and more. As you walk down the beach, you notice the details of sights and sounds around you, and soothing sensations of the sun, the breeze, and the sand below your feet. As you continue your leisurely walk down the beach, you notice a colorful beach chair resting in a nice, peaceful spot where the powdery, soft sand lies, undisturbed. You approach this comfortable-looking beach chair. Then you sit down, lie back, and settle in. You take in a long, deep breath, breathe slowly out, and feel even more relaxed and comfortable resting in your chair. For a few moments more, let yourself enjoy the sights and sounds of this beautiful day on the beach. And when you feel ready, you can gently bring your attention back to the room, still letting yourself feel nice and comfortable sitting where you are. Okay, so normally when we do this, you guys are all familiar that we will share an observation. Right now, I want you to take a moment and think about what you observed during the practice. If you want to say it out loud, you can. Otherwise, just notice one thing you observed during that.
I noticed my shoulders just drop down.
Yeah?
Yeah, and the thought, I just feel way calmer. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so today we are rounding out our crisis survival skills portion of distress tolerance, and we are going to be talking about the improve skill. So the improve skill is another acronym, and the whole gist of this skill is you're doing something to improve the moment. So the spoiler alert here, you're only going to remember one thing. You want to use the improve skill when you have a situation that you can't really change right now, and you want to get through the situation without making it worse. And improve is the skill that's going to just slightly improve the moment, just a teeny tiny bit, so that it's a little bit easier to get through that moment.
I think of these skills as a little bit like the skills that you use on the bus. Or skills you use when it can't be obvious that you're using a skill. You know, you can't really say when you're being reprimanded by your boss, hold that thought and let me use some ice, you know, or excuse me while I practice my prepared muscle relaxation. And a lot of the improved skills you can practice because they're internal ones.
Cool. So let's get learning. Okay, so some of these skills, just to give you a bit of an orientation, some of these skills are going to make the moment more pleasant and easier to tolerate. Some strategies are going to help you change your appraisals of the situation, so change how you're thinking about the situation. Others are going to change your body responses. And then other skills are going to promote acceptance. So we're going to hit each one of these. We are going to unpack, we're going to unpack our, I hope people can see this. Okay, so the I is going to stand for imagery. So we just did this in our mindfulness practice. We were visualizing a nice, pleasant walk on the beach. That's one way you could improve the moment with imagery, is by bringing to mind like calming nature-y stuff. There are also some other ways that you can improve the moment. And also, I just realized I didn't orient you to where you are in the page. So you want to be in your binder at page DT11. Okay, so everyone's on DT11. We've talked about one way to improve with imagery is by imagining relaxing, like nature-y scenes. Other ways to improve the moment are imagining, you can imagine like hurtful or painful emotions draining out of you like a pipe. You can also imagine You can imagine like a calming fantasy world. Like my little sister is like super into Harry Potter, and she always has been. And so for her, if she's trying to improve the moment, she might envision like Ron Weasley sitting right in front of her, and I don't know, doing like a spell or doing something like Ron Weasley-ish. So some type of fantasy, calming fantasy, might work for you to bring to mind through imagery. The last way, or one of the last ways you could improve with imagery is by, you can imagine like a secret room within yourself where you can, like it's your room. Like you have the furniture you want, you have the plants that you want, you have the art and pictures hanging on the wall that you want, and that's your room where it's like you're like a fortress that can't be penetrated by any of the things that are, cueing these painful or uncomfortable emotions for you. So there are a lot of different ways you could improve with imagery.
Someone I used to work with, she worked as a checkout operator, and sometimes people could be less than kind during the course of her working day, particularly if it was really hectic, or people were getting impatient when they're in line. And what she used to do was imagine herself in her safe suit. And her safe suit was this kind of puffy suit, this giant imaginary puffy suit, kind of like a Michelin Man suit that she would like when she got into it, it would be like, in her imagination and her mind's eye, it would feel like a hug. And nobody could, or like one of those things when you roll down the hill, like the Zorbs or whatever they are. And when she was in that, no one could get to her. And so she would just imagine herself in her safe suit. And, if customers had snarky things to say about the speed at which the line was operating, or complaints about the produce, she was able to just let it roll off her because she was in her safe suit.
I think fair enough. I like that. Okay. So the next part of the improve skill, the M, that stands for meaning. So, just like our good old friend Kelly Clarkson has taught us, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So there are certain like phrases or kind of like mantras like that really are getting to the heart of what improving with meaning is. With meaning, if you're in a really, really stressful or difficult situation, if you can think of some way to make that meaning or to make that suffering have some sort of purpose or meaning, it can actually kind of take the edge off or make that experience a little bit more tolerable. So like a classic example, other than Kelly Clarkson, when we're talking about meaning, is Viktor Frankl. So this is a man who was imprisoned in a concentration camp in World War II. And he wrote this book while he was, I think he actually wrote it. I think this is a story. He wrote it like before he was imprisoned, and then it got shredded or something. And so he was just like continually reminding himself of, anyway, this purpose and what his meaning was. And then he actually wrote the published manuscript like 11 days after being freed or something like that. Don't quote me on it. But anyway, the whole moral of the story is that Viktor Frankl was imprisoned in a concentration camp, and he figured out that the way that he was able to get through these situations, this terrible tragedy, was by having some type of purpose. So he wrote this book called Man's Search for Meaning, and I would highly recommend it if you're interested in reading something. But the moral of the story is if you can attach some meaning or some reason for what you could learn by a tragedy or by a very painful experience or by a very difficult experience, that can have a way of helping you feel like you're moving closer to your life worth living despite feeling really, really painful, intense emotions in that moment.
This one is actually a really on the face of it, people often have strong reactions to this one. Like, it doesn't imply that everything's peachy because you've got your meaning. Like, so it's actually really good that this thing is happening. And it's finding the silver lining in the cloud, or the thing that you can take from this, or the reason you want to bear this despite intense pain. So one thing that may or may not resonate with you is that during COVID-19, there are all these stories coming out of people, like Italians, singing on their balconies while they're in quarantine. And so the meaning for them is finding a sense of connection through this catastrophe and disaster that is affecting their country. And there are also stories coming out about how the waters of Venice are clearing, and you can see the waters are clear, and you can see, and fish and bird life are coming back to the city that have actually, in living memory, the water has not looked so clear. And there are pictures of dolphins through canals which are purported to be in Venice. And so one sense of meaning that has been taken from this is that although COVID-19 is a catastrophe, there is something that humanity might be able to learn in terms of the impact of reducing the emissions that we're generating, and reducing our impact on the planet. That does not mean that we love the fact that COVID-19 is happening. It doesn't mean that you have to love your distress. What it means is to find the silver lining, or the lemonade that you can make out of this lemon. Now, you can stack skills. So there's one really interesting research study that was conducted looking at the impact of imagery on humans' ability to tolerate pain. So people were asked to undertake the cold presser task, which is essentially submerging their hand in the equivalent of icy cold water. And the cold presser task is looking at how long you can tolerate the distress, how long you can hold your hand in there, so how long you can tolerate the distress of that really uncomfortable sensation. And people were randomly assigned into a condition where it was a comparison, a control condition, and I believe they're asked to practice progressive muscle relaxation. I'm not 100%, don't quote me on that. But in the condition that they were looking closely at, people were being asked to imagine that they were making their way through an icy cold rapid, like an icy cold river, in order to bring provisions and supplies to their family who were on the other side. What do you think happened? Well, those of you who think that the people who are being asked to use imagery to cross the icy cold river to bring provisions to their family are right. That condition beat out the comparison condition. Significantly longer times of holding hand in the cold, of tolerating the cold presser class, were found in the people who are practicing that imagery. And when you think about it, it's not just imagery that people were practicing, because the icy cold river is not like the equivalent of, walking down a beautiful beach. It is doing something, braving something difficult in order to do something important, for something that is as a strong value for most people, honouring and saving and taking care of their family. So if you can think of some reason that you're bearing this pain that is related to an important value, and if you can match imagery, like imagine it in vivid and glorious detail, that's likely to help you.
Cool. Okay, so the P here in improve stands for prayer. So I want to tell you what this is and what it's not. So let's start out with what it's not. Obviously people use prayer for many different reasons. When we're talking about prayer in like the DBT improved sense of the word, we're not talking about praying for someone to take this pain away. We're not asking why me? We're not saying those things. I want you to think for a second, why might those types of prayers, why me, or please take this thing away from me, please make this stop, I want you to think, why might that not be helpful in these types of situations? So give yourself like 30 seconds. I'm going to time it 30 seconds to think about why that might not be helpful. Okay. So if you were thinking that that might not be helpful because it takes kind of some of your power away, or, okay, basically, let me just tell you why it's not helpful, and then you can tell me if you agree or not. So why it's not helpful is because you actually don't have any control over whether or not this thing is going to be, ended right now. Like the whole point of these skills are you doing things on purpose to try to make the situation more tolerable. So if you are doing something on purpose, but you're asking for someone else to take something away, or you're asking for something that you really have no control over, while the intention is great and commendable, the kind of delivery or the process probably isn't going to help get you your goal. So if you were having thoughts that that's why these why me or take this away prayers weren't helpful, then you were spot on. So if we're not doing that, if we're not saying why me and we're not praying for these terrible things to be over, what are we doing? Well, you can pray to any type of spiritual being. You can pray to your wise mind. You could pray to literally anything. You could make a prayer for like, help me have the strength to get through this, or help me find a way through this. So you're doing things to kind of empower yourself, rather than trying to, just ask some type of being to make this thing go away. You're having more control by saying you want the strength to get through this thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, my deliver me prayers, like if I do a little bargain, like, and I just pray, okay, if I do this thing, will you please just get me out of this situation? I might feel better for a moment, maybe, because I'll be hoping against hope that will happen. But then when it doesn't happen on my time frame, then my distress goes up. I get more upset and more distressed, and it's just incredibly difficult. So I find personally that deliver me prayers are not effective for me. I find that it is a lot more effective to take a breath, be open to what is, and ask for the strength to tolerate it. Yeah, the ability to do what I can in this moment.
Okay. So the next part, the R, this stands for relaxing actions. So the whole thought here is when you have a situation that you can't control, or a thing that you just have to get through, like Emily's example of like a boss reprimanding you, or dealing with a customer who's in your checkout line, or like me, you guys are aware I was like tiling my shower a couple weeks ago. Like I had to get my shower tiled, like I had all my material, blah, blah, blah. Like that was a situation that I just had to get through. So I actually found myself using relaxing actions in that instance. And in any of these situations that we're talking about, relaxing actions can be really, really helpful. So something that I did, this like personal story time. So I've never tiled a shower before. I ripped off all the tile several weeks prior. The days before, I had gone to Home Depot. I had all my material. I had like my trowels and my tile and my tile cutter, and I had everything all mixed up and ready to go. I had my mortar mixed up or thin set, I don't know, whatever. I had the like sticky stuff all mixed up, and you have to like work with that stuff quickly. But again, with me having never tiled a shower before, I started laying like the first couple tiles, and it was like so much harder. Emily's like on the edge of her seat here. It was so much harder than I thought it was going to be, and I was so frustrated. And I was just like thinking to myself, how in the heck, I told Emily I wasn't going to swear. I was thinking to myself, how in the heck am I going to get this whole freaking or shower tiled? So I was super, super frustrated, like having thoughts of, wow, like I'm going to give up. Like maybe I'm just going to go hire someone. Maybe I'm going to talk my partner into doing it for me. But I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to persevere. So I was thinking to myself, what skills can I use right now and improve with relaxing actions? Totally came to mind. So I got this candle from Trader Joe's. It smells very good. It's like called lemon cookie. I highly recommend it if you.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, sorry. Anyway, I got this candle, and I lit it in the bathroom, and I'm like covered in this mortar. It's like the situation is just like a total mess. But I have this candle that's putting off this like very pleasing scent, and you know what? It actually helped my distress go down. And I swear, having that scent that would just like come to my nose without me, having to like do anything, just having that thing there was super, super helpful for me, and truly, truly helped me be more effective at like getting my thing done. And lo and behold, I got my stinking shower tiled. So it really, really worked. So lighting a candle is one way that I was improving the moment, but there are a lot of
the shower that you think is stinking.
Oh yes, sorry. The bathroom is still a huge work in progress. So there are a lot of different ways you can have relaxing actions. For some people, it might be taking like a hot shower or a hot bath. We have other people who might enjoy like drinking a really hot beverage, or maybe even a cold beverage. Like I'm someone who really likes iced coffee, regardless of what temperature it is outside. So doing something that's a relaxing action that cues relaxation for you would be really, really helpful to try right here.
Now, product placement again, Virtual Hope Box, and we've talked about this a lot. I don't know that everyone knows about it. Virtual Hope Box is an app that I believe was developed by the VA, and they've put it out on Google Play and the App Store. So it's available for iPhones and Androids, free, and it offers a whole host of different ways of distracting, self-soothing, and just essentially improving your way through painful times. And the relaxation section, it's called Relax Me on the app, has a range of different exercises. So there's, I think there's at least 3 guided visualization scripts. There's also a progressive muscle relaxation one, and there's a paced breathing one. So take a look at that as well for options for relaxing actions.
Cool. So the next letter we're going to get to is one thing in the moment. Okay. So this might remind you of our one mindfulness skill that's part of mindfulness. The whole thing here is to remember that the only pain you have to survive is the pain that's right here, right now. So I wanna like I've told you guys this 1,000 times. I love proving stuff to you. So if I actually want you to do this for 30 seconds. I want you to sit in your chair, or lay however you're sitting right now or laying. I want you to think for 30 seconds of all the things that are stressing you out. Maybe that's COVID-19. Maybe that's you have kids home from school. Maybe that's you are social distancing. Maybe it's your social quarantine. Maybe it's you don't have toilet paper right now. I want you to think of, for 30 seconds, all the things that are stressing you out. I'm going to keep time. So I would guess that that is a pretty uncomfortable experience to be thinking of all the things that are stressing you out. I know that when I'm thinking of things that are stressing me out, the more things I keep thinking of, the more stressed out and distressed that I get. So what I just asked you to do is doing the opposite of one thing in the moment. To do one thing in the moment, you're going to, even though you have probably a lot of other things happening right now, to do one thing in the moment, you're going to redirect your attention to what's happening right here, right now. Because that's the only thing that has to be survived, is what's happening right now in this current moment. We're not thinking about all the pain and suffering and stress we've had in the past. We're not thinking about all the pain and suffering and stress that we're going to have in the future. We're thinking about right here, right now. Because doing the past thing or the future thing, it's only going to make the situation worse and probably bump up your distress, which we do not want. The whole goal of these distress tolerance skills are getting through the moment without making it worse. So there are a lot of different ways we can actually do one thing in the moment. And one of the ways we can do them is through a sensory awareness protocol. So we are going to do that right now. So basically, the whole sensory awareness protocol is a way of reconnecting with what's happening right here, right now, because it's kind of like puppies and rainbows to say like, oh, just think of this like one thing right now. That's a lot easier said than done. So with this sensory awareness protocol, I want you to give you some practice of actually focusing on what's happening right now, specifically within your body. So I'm going to read you this list, and I'm going to go pretty slow because I want you to let your attention direct itself to each of these directives that I'm going to give you.
For other people, who are following along at home, what handout is this?
Could you?
No, that's fine. It's handout. So it's distress tolerance, handout 9A. And it should be the next page on from your improved skills, those of you who've got the IOP manual.
I lent mine out. Okay. Find a comfortable position. Staying in this position, listen to the questions, and listen for your response after each question. If you don't have a recording of these questions, you can make one for yourself. And you can record each question with about 5 seconds between each one.
You can also just record this part of what Lauren's doing on your phone and keep it around as a short version for later.
Okay. Can you feel your hair touching your head? Can you feel your belly rising and falling as you breathe? Can you feel the space between your eyes? Can you feel the distance between your ears? Can you feel your breath touching the back of your eyes while you inhale? Can you picture something far away? Can you notice your arms touching your body? Can you feel the bottoms of your feet? Can you imagine a beautiful day at the beach? Can you notice the space within your mouth? Can you notice the position of your tongue in your mouth? Can you feel a breeze or air against your cheek? Can you feel how one arm is heavier than the other? Can you feel a tingling or numbness in one hand? Can you feel how one arm is more relaxed than the other? Can you feel a change in the temperature in the air around you? Can you feel how your left arm is warmer than the right? Can you imagine how it would feel to be a rag doll? Can you notice any tightness in your left forearm? Can you imagine something very pleasant? Can you imagine what it would feel like to float on a cloud? Can you imagine what it would feel like to be stuck in molasses? Can you picture something far away? Can you feel a heaviness in your lungs? Can you imagine floating in warm water? Can you notice your body hanging on your bones? Can you allow yourself to drift lazily? Can you feel your face getting soft? Can you imagine a beautiful flower? Can you feel how one arm and one leg are heavier than the other? Okay, and end sensory awareness protocol. So I want you to notice what are some of the things that you observed as you did this sensory awareness practice. What's one thing you noticed?
A lot of tingling.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, I noticed thoughts how, like, sometimes thoughts like, oh, this is different from mindfulness, because there was a lot of comparisons between things that you might or might not be experiencing. And I also noticed, like, when you said, can you feel this being heavier, like one side of your body, like one leg and arm being heavier than the other, it did feel heavier. And I noticed tingling, a lot more tingling in my body, and a lot more focus on how I was feeling, like, inside, like what sensations I was experiencing. Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. Okay. So we've got one thing in the moment. The V in improve stands for a brief vacation. Have you ever seen the movie What About Bob?
No.
It's this movie that I find very funny. I like watched it as a kid. I think it was made in like the 80s or something. But it has Bill Murray, and he is talking with the psychiatrist, and he's a very funny. He plays a very funny character, but he has this like aha moment as he's talking to this psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist tells him to take a vacation from his problems, and he's like the world like opens up to him, and he's like, oh my God, I could take a vacation from my problems. And so then the whole rest of the movie is about Bob is his name, Bob's journey taking a vacation from his problems, and like chaos ensues, and lots of funny stuff happens. And anyway, so that's what I always think of when I think of this vacation piece. It can be in Bob's case, he like legit went on a vacation. For other people, that's probably not going to be something you could do right now. Like I cannot go on vacation right now because of, coronavirus going on. So there are other ways to do a brief vacation that are not like vacation in the literal term. So even a tiny vacation could be, you know what, I'm going to spend 20 minutes in bed. Like one of my dogs sleeps on my bed with me. And sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take a brief vacation with Mac, that's his name. And we're going to cuddle under our blanket, and we're going to do that for 20 minutes. And during that 20 minutes, I'm not thinking about the problems that I have going on. I'm not going to keep reliving this distress. I'm not going to keep ruminating on how to solve this problem. I'm going to spend 20 minutes under the covers with my dog, and we're just going to chill. And after that 20 minutes is up, my vacation is over, and I'm going to go into assessing and problem solving mode to do what I need to do. But I'm going to spend that 20 minutes of my vacation time to be on vacation from the problem that's going on right then. You could also do something like if there's like a favorite place that you have, like if you have a coffee shop that you like, or like a nature trail that you like to go on, or a beach that you like to visit. Going there could be a vacation from the problems, with the understanding that when you're there, you're on vacation, and you're going to throw yourself into that moment, and you're not going to be reliving all of the stuff that's weighing on you right then. Another thing you could do to take a vacation, which may or may not be applicable right now, is sometimes even turning off your phone for a day could be a form of vacation. So personally, I know for me, like when I took the vacation time to tile my shower, I wasn't checking email. I didn't have any email going on. And for someone like me who's been like attached at the hip to my email for like the last many, many years, to not have email for a week was a huge vacation. So there might be certain things like that you could do to take a mini vacation, either for 20 minutes under the covers, going on a walk, going to a beach, turning off your phone, turning off your email. Doing something like that could be really helpful. What do you think?
Oh, I like vacations. I think they've got to be planned, and they've got to be brief. Like if you're on the precipice of of a major deadline and you really have no time to spare, that's probably not the time to, turn your phone off for a day. And so they've got to be planned for. One vacation I love is browsing magazines. Browsing magazines at the supermarket or at a bookstore. That is something I just love.
Yeah, so to carry this point home further, vacations can sometimes, like your mind could sometimes disguise a vacation or disguise avoidance with a vacation. So if I have something that's stressing me out, like if I have to send a difficult email or have a difficult conversation with someone, my brain might have the thought, oh, I could just go on a vacation right now. I don't want to deal with that. But if that thing actually needs to happen, and if it's my anxiety cueing me to avoid or giving me an urge to avoid, I want to be really mindful about what's going to be most effective right there. My wise mind would probably say in this instance that taking a vacation is not indicated right now, and I actually need to act opposite to my urges to avoid. So that's one thing, getting back to Emily's point about having them planned in advance. Okay, so the last part of the improve skill is with encouragement. So this one can sometimes be tricky because oftentimes people find it really easy to encourage other people or to be validating and warm and enthusiastic about other people. But when we're trying to do it for ourselves, that can be a lot harder. And oftentimes people have less experience doing that. So the whole thing with encouragement is we actually want you to do the hard thing, and we want you to say encouraging things to yourself. So, to really drive home the point of this, I want you actually to right now do the opposite. And I want you to think of something that cues a lot of painful emotions for you and cues stress and maybe cues distress. And I want you to hold out your hands and say, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get through this thing. This is terrible. It's going to be this way forever. It's totally hopeless. That's like the antithesis of encouragement, right? So now we're going to flip it and we're going to do the actual encouraging thing. One like pro tip is sometimes you could think, if I had my best friend or a loved one, if a loved one or best friend was going through this thing right now, what would I say to them? And I want you to actually say that thing to yourself. So if you're going through something and you might tell someone else, you know what, this sucks and you've got it. Like I heard this phrase the other day, like this thing sucks, but I'm going to crush it. So if that's something that you would say to someone else, now I want you to say that same thing to yourself. It might be an encouragement like that, like this sucks, but I'm going to crush it. I'm going to rock this. It might be something like, I'm doing the best I can. There's a lot of stuff happening and I'm doing the best I can. It could also be something like, this isn't going to last forever and this is going to pass. So there are a lot of different flavors of this self-encouragement, but what it's not, again, I just really want to drive this home. What it's not is it's not kind of stewing in the hopelessness. It's not saying this is going to be forever. It's not saying I'm never going to get through this. Even though your mind might be having some of those thoughts, to do this skill effectively, you've got to turn your mind towards doing something different and saying the thing you might say to someone else.
And it's not pretending that it's all rainbows and unicorns when it's not. So it's not saying, oh, you should be happy right now, or just turn that that frown upside down. It's not like that. It's saying things that are going to be helpful to you and help you get through. I can remember overhearing, I was at a ropes course. I, of course, was terrified and really having to use a lot of skills to throw myself into this particular activity. And I was hearing the belayer of someone else, the person who was holding the rope on the end of someone else who was traversing the rope course. And this belayer was encouraging his friend. And he was like, okay, now just take another step forward, like the champion you are. Yep, one more step. Just relax. And it was like, wow, he's really good at this. He just sounded so calm and supportive, and he was saying things that actually really helped me, even though I was overhearing what he was saying to someone else. So it's kind of like that, talking yourself through something with optimism and support, as opposed to beating yourself up or telling yourself hopeless thoughts. Lauren, I'm wondering whether we should trial something that involves a little bit of physical discomfort and just see what happens, like invite people to see what happens when they say discouraging things to themselves while they're doing it versus encouraging things. What do you think? Do we have time for that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what this would involve is holding your arms like this, and then if this isn't consistent with your wise mind because you've got a shoulder injury or there's just a reason to not do this, then don't. Find something else that creates a little bit of discomfort and do that instead. And the idea is that we'd hold our arms up. And let's see, I'm just going to turn the timer so I can see how long we're holding them up for. And for the first little bit, we're going to say discouraging things. Oh, how long is this going to take? My arms feel so heavy.
Why can't we just put them down?
Emily's such a sadist.
It's like starting to hurt under my arms.
Right? Why? This is just ridiculous and painful. And it's like, I could give myself an injury doing this.
Yeah, what even is the point of this?
Right? It's really hurting.
Yeah, I don't like this.
This is going to go on. When's she going to stop? This is awful. I can't stand this.
Yeah, I don't even understand this.
And now, encouraging things. All right, let's just see how this goes. I've dealt with great pain. I can do this.
There's some reason why we're doing this.
I can do this, girl. Just this moment. Let's see what happens. I'm strong. I will survive.
My arms might feel like they're gonna fall off, but my arms have literally never ever fallen off before. So I'm pretty sure, you know what, I'm certain that I can get through this.
These arms have done great things.
I've got these muscles for a reason.
All right, now bring them down.
Cool.
I started feeling mad at myself in the first half. I was like, yeah, and when I felt mad, it actually got harder to hold my arms up.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this. I think there's like I feel sometimes my mind just going towards like a complainy, or like really getting sucked into like the reasons why something sucks or the reasons why something is hard. And it almost feels like if I say it out loud, it's going to validate that pain is real, and this thing really is that uncomfy. And even though like I might have that natural urge to just like get it out and say that to someone, I'm finding that it doesn't help me like get through that situation. Like it might help in that teeny tiny moment, but long term, I don't really feel like it's helping me go forward. So personally, I'm trying to notice my urges to vent about something or to kind of get sucked into those hopeless thoughts and to turn my mind towards like encouragement of myself rather than kind of just word vomiting all the ways that it sucks.
It's so amazing, isn't it, right? Because like there are so many tumultuous things happening and like stressful, unexpected things, and it's unpredictable, and there's a lot of things that are really uncomfortable about this, and we don't know what's going to happen. And it can feel good in the moment to spend a lot of time complaining about it, and then like if that's prolonged, I don't know about you, but my mind does start going to the future, and then I start exchanging worries with the other person about what's going to happen in the future, and we don't know what's going to happen. And then that creates problems for what happens. Like I leave that conversation feeling discouraged and scared, which is really sad. Whereas if we talk about, okay, yeah, this sucks, let's agree, this is really hard, and then move to, all right, so having acknowledged that, how are we going to respond to it, or what are we doing that's effective, or, you know, I'm kind of proud about how I'm handling this thing. I mean, I'm super proud of what you're doing to handle it in terms of putting out this recording. So, and I think those kind of conversations, I come away from feeling more energized afterwards.
Totally.
Yeah. It's hard to do, and I think it's really effective. So this doesn't mean that you can't validate yourself. And it means that you also encourage yourself while you're validating what's valid. There are a lot of valid emotions that people are experiencing when they're distressed. And oftentimes the thoughts and the judgments we're having are not valid.
Yeah, so give this a go. So that's like a perfect segue into our homework. So homework is going to be DT31. So I'll show you what it looks like. So it's gonna look like this. So your task is going to be to practice each one of these ways to improve the moment. You're going to indicate what the situation was where you used this thing. And just like last week, I want you to rate your distress tolerance before and after. So again, a 0 is I cannot stand this thing. Whereas a 5 is, you know what, this thing is really hard, but I can definitely survive it. So I want you to give distress tolerance before and after you do this thing. And then I also want you to give an indication of your negative emotions and your positive emotions before and after the skill. So again, I just want to drive home this point. For crisis survival skills to work, you do not need to see, like our primary outcome isn't reduced negative emotions or increased positive emotions. Those are like the icing on the cake. If it decreases our negative emotions and increases our positive emotions, that's the icing on the cake. But for stress tolerance skills to work, they need to help us pass time safely without making the situation worse. So if you're passing time, you're not making the situation worse, congratulations, you are doing these distress tolerance skills effectively. Okay, so this is your homework.
You are going to be submitting it, those of you who are part of our groups. So write it down, take a picture of it and submit it in the way we've told you how. And also stay tuned for the skills for addiction. We're also going to be telling you about those this week.